Ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order today. And our next item agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the meeting agenda.
Okay, do we
Second.
have a second? No discussion? We have a motion and a second, and the motion carries. The agenda as presented has been approved. Okay, now we're under presentations and board member comments. Anybody? Mr. Smiley?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay.
Bait Bulldogs, second in the country, academic team. Wow, fantastic. I've known Tony a long, long time, so he kept sending me texts like every day. I'm sure some of y'all got them too. And he wanted us to respond something good to say to the kids. So I tried to think something good, but also silly. So did that for a week, and fantastic. I just think that's out of this world. To go to Chicago and come in second place in the United States and on the academic team is just fantastic. Also, three of us were at the Danville Schools Foundation. I think that our leader who just walked in did a good job, all the volunteers. I did want to congratulate Dr. McDonald and Lori Finke. In the paper tomorrow, you'll probably see that they both defeated me by a mile.
This was the 5K, you all.
Out of 66 runners, I came in 64th, and I was pretty happy with that. But however, I did win an anchor and an award because there was only 3 people in my age group. So I wanted to thank a wonderful organization. But all teasing aside, it was a big success. It'll grow, and everybody there had a lot of fun. So that's all I have. Thanks.
It was. Troy. Lori, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Glenn?
No, sir.
I just want to expand upon Mr. Smiley. It was a beautiful day. I'm not a runner, but it's pretty obvious when it's a great day to have a run, and that was a good day, Saturday. And I do want to thank Phil Osborne and the Foundation and the Alumni Association for continuing that. And it definitely will grow. It's amazing how many, especially at the end, will start showing up and getting signed up. So I have to commend you all for that. It was fantastic. And also, it's been a good end of the year for the schools. Now the schools have ended, but life has not ended as far as district school work and all like that. So I do have to commend our staff and employees for everything they've done throughout the year, and just good things. So thank you all. That's all I have. And you are next.
Okay, well, Mr. Smiley took some of the things I had on my list. I was going to mention the 5K and bait. So the one other thing that I do have is central office moving, and so just want to announce that the last day in our current building will be July the 12th, that Friday. So when we close there at 4:30 on the 12th, we'll open back up on July the 15th at 8 a.m. in our new location next door here to the high school. So kind of exciting to be finalizing that move.
What's the last day?
The 12th,
Okay.
the Friday the 12th will be our last day, and we may still have boxes everywhere. We may still have some individuals at the old location, but for the public, for tax purposes, for the HR department, for our employees, we will officially open on July the 15th at 8 a.m. in the new central office.
That's fabulous. That's great.
And if any board members, if you've not been in lately, I would just went and did a walkthrough before this meeting, and it's really looking nice. So any day this week, if you're around and have a little bit of time, if you'd like to take a quick walkthrough, I'd be glad to meet you there and do that.
Okay, sounds fantastic. And then also 3C is all yours. Personnel notifications.
Oh, so those are just
Right. Yeah, there's no discussion. Has everybody had a chance to? Yeah. So any items of discussion, the superintendent can take care of that. And okay, number 4, we're looking for approval of the previous meeting minutes as presented. Have y'all had a chance to look those over? Okay. So we need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay. You want to go on and say the dates?
What date was it?
5/6
5/6/2019
and 5/14,
and 5/14/2019.
rather than 5/20. So we
5/20.
got 3 of them that snuck in there, Glenn.
Lord have mercy. I was not too much. And 5/20/2019.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Troy, and second. Any discussion? Any corrections? Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Now we're going to have the superintendent evaluation. I think how we can do this, I would like some discussion, of course, before we jump into the actual motion. And so any of the board members that would like to, and then what I'll do after we have our discussion is then I will actually read the summary. And then we'll vote on the summary and all that in one motion, okay? So anybody who would like to make a comment?
I just want to ask, having done this several years, and the process itself has been greatly approved by KSBA, like, there's a much easier format on the back end, which helps us, and there was much better training going into this. This was a whole new, it's all the same criteria, it's just a whole new way they organized it, and it made it much easier. And Dr. McDonald has done a great job of keeping us updated throughout the year as things are going, and it aligns with it actually aligns with what we're supposed to look at. So it made our evaluation process a lot easier, even being evaluation a new superintendent. But I want to thank Dr. McDonald for all the hard work, and I think it's been a great start to the school year, or a great first year, and I look forward to continuing.
I've only been on the board 5 months now, but being on the board all those 13 years before, working in the schoolhouse, I think Dr. McDonald is one of the best superintendents I ever worked for and with. I think that our focus is organization, our managerial skills are fantastic, our strategic planning is fantastic. Many things happened this year, and they were all positive and all good. I think she's going to be an excellent superintendent.
Well, I just want to thank Dr. McDonald for all the hard work that she's done. I know it's been a little bit of a bumpy ride, but she has taken that all in stride and attacked it hard and straightforward, and she's been transparent with us, so we've known everything that's going on, so we appreciate everything, your hard work, and the continuous work that we're going to do together. So thank you very much.
Okay, Glenn?
Keep up the good work. Amen.
I have to agree with that. I found out about this lady, you hear the term grit. She has lots of grit. And I think it was May the 8th when we got the bomb threat that came in. I was absolutely amazed on how she and others were able to take that situation. Even though I think folks thought this is not a big deal, any bomb threat is a big deal. And the seriousness that central office displayed under Dr. McDonald's leadership, and basically in an hour it was over with. But I imagine those hearts were pounding, and you know, the main concern it was for the kids, and I had parents call me, I want to go get my kid. No, you shouldn't go get your kid. You know, those kind of things, and it was all handled beautifully. So I knew, you know, it's funny that something zones in, but that zoned in to me on not only leadership skills, because it's really hard to lead and learn at the same time, but that said a lot to me on the grit that she has, and also the leadership ability to be able to call the troops in and take care of business. So I really commend you on that. It was a really astounding moment to me. So really good stuff. Does anybody else have any more comments? Okay, if y'all don't mind, I'd like to just read the summary. The evaluation of Superintendent Dr. Tammy McDonald, summary report, Danville Independent Schools, June the 17th, 2019. The Board of Education of Danville Independent District has completed the annual evaluation of Superintendent Dr. Tammy McDonald for the 2018-2019 school year. The past year has been a positive one and also a challenging one for the education in our school district. 3 school board members have served on the board for at least 1 full year and 2 with 5 months of service, and have been able to observe and be a part of the successes and the challenges of this year. The evaluation focuses on 7 standards of performance agreed upon by the board and the superintendent. Dr. McDonald received the ratings of, in Standard 1, strategic leadership, and these kind of run 4 through 1, so 4 being the highest. So exemplary in strategic leadership. Anybody that can mouse around 5 school board members and keep them happy, that's a tough thing. I mean, my wife can't keep me happy, and I'm only 1 at home. So, but Tammy is, she really has done great things and has really been able to harness the strategic leadership component and just our strategic plan. Good stuff. Standard 2 was instructional leadership, and she received accomplished, which is also, that goes, accomplished would be 3. So, the instructional point is coming along because it's really hard. You can't, just change things overnight. You got to have a steady way to go and a defined reason of why you're doing things. And she's been able to tell the board exactly what's going on with instruction, and so it really has eased us because we know that's a big deal. I mean, we've got to get a harness on that and make it much better. Standard 3 is the cultural leadership. She also received accomplished in that. Building culture, school district culture, community culture, that's a hard thing to do because it all matters. And of course, the Danville schools have been around over 100 years. Community relies on our school system. How our high school performs is kind of like the flagship, and that a lot of time leads our district. So we know good things are coming and more. And understanding the culture is tough, and she's getting there. So, and Standard 4 is human relationship leadership, human resource leadership. She also received accomplished. One thing I have found, she generally doesn't do things unless she asks folks. Not necessarily what the answer is, but at least to get an idea of maybe where things are. And dealing with almost 300 employees, that's a challenge all by itself. So we feel very comfortable in her leadership ability there. Number 5 is managerial leadership. She also received accomplished on that. It's kind of been trial by fire on some things. And she's been willing to put the time in. And as I said, to lead and learn at the same time, it can be challenging. And on that alone, learning district finances and learning where money is supposed to come from, and she's done a great job on that, so thank you. Feel very good about our financial situation, and we're strong. We've made some purchases, we've spent a lot of money, probably to her chagrin at sometimes, but it's things we needed to do, and she was able to get us through that. Collaborative leadership. She works well with community groups. She's involved. She knows putting the Danville schools out in the forefront makes a big difference. And there were years that we kind of lacked in that a little bit, but it's been very noticeable talking with the folks that I know in the business community and the chamber and tourism and those folks. It's been noticeable the difference that the schools are making and the impact that they're having on the community, and along with other leaders in our district, but also with Dr. McDonald, that really has made a difference. And then Standard 7, influential leadership. That's always been a really difficult one for me to even truly understand exactly what that means. But Tammy has been able to garner things quickly, and because of that, she does influence others. She's influenced me a great deal. I'm this old codger that's been around a long time. I always have my doubts about things, but I can say that her influence on this board, at least to me, and I think the rest of the board, has been significant. She's been able to harness that well, and so she also received accomplished on that. The board will be working with the superintendent over the next several weeks to develop board goals for our district for the year 2019-2020, and we look forward to working together to make our school district more successful. We also are going to be on a more defined schedule when it comes to Dr. McDonald's evaluation. We're going to be meeting many times during the year, so Ben, we will be going into closed sessions because, you know, we're going to be developing the evaluation tool as we go. So this will give us an opportunity to keep things really fresh, so that we're not wondering what happened in July. So that's our goal. So I have to say thank you for a great year.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the years to come. So I need a motion on the evaluation for the superintendent.
I make a motion for the approval of the annual summative evaluation for Dr. Tammy McDonald as submitted.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Any more comments? Okay, seeing there are none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the board members. It's been a great first year. I appreciate your support, your guidance, all the conversation, and it's a team effort. Leading our district is absolutely a team effort, and I think any school district that's successful has a very strong working relationship between superintendent and board members, and I think we have that. So it's really great, and I'm looking forward to the next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, number 6, we're going to start talking about, Mr. Matt, we need you up there on the change order for the Hogsett construction. So if you want to go through it first, and then if we have questions, we'll ask.
So we've got 5 items this month. All of them really kind of relate to found conditions as we move along. Running through it, number 4, the first one, 45, we have a can wash area that's off of the kitchen that we enclosed an old area that we're used to have like a little porch off the kitchen, so we enclosed that to put the can wash, washer, dryer, water heater in there. We originally had that to have just an exposed ceiling, just painted, but decided to extend the ceiling from the kitchen into there, so that's what that add is, to credit back the painting of the ceiling and add a ceiling back. And that'll be the same kind of water resistant ceiling that's in the rest of the kitchen. Number 48, where the preschool building and kind of in the area where the preschool, the old school, and the gym were coming together in this really kind of weird way. We saw that there was going to be an issue with drainage on the roof. So what this change order is, basically it's providing it's somewhat of a notch in the parapet of the roof that will open this little spot that we were concerned about to a downspout, into a gutter. So that's just something we discovered as we were putting things together. 55, originally there's an existing cooler outside the kitchen, and originally we had that kitchen was going to be moved to a different facility. It was determined that that cooler was going to stay, but in the job we had because we're replacing all the electric and all the new panels all over the place, we didn't have a connection to go to that cooler because we had it scheduled to go away. So this adds a connection to that cooler.
So, and the reason we're keeping it is that, I guess since I was in the food service business for years, if you tear down one and try to move it, a lot of times it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Just because, especially the age makes a big
Yeah.
difference too.
I think there was some talks about moving it to a different school, but at the end of the day, it didn't really, I think the decision was it didn't make sense to,
Right.
for the expense. So we originally had a credit earlier in the job that credited the demo of the pad, because we were gonna take away the food service, take away the cooler and then demo that pad in the job.
Right.
Since we didn't do that, you guys got a credit back on the contract for that pad, but we didn't pick up the electric part of it until they started demoing all the electric and putting it back in, so.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it was more a matter of stay here or somewhere else, it didn't really,
Sure.
doesn't really matter.
Okay.
But the storage was what was important, and it's kind of a central, somewhere in the central location to get to it.
It is.
Number 57, one of the downspouts that are coming down from the cafeteria, we had just scheduled to remain, but as they started to excavate around that area, they noticed that the connection, once it was uncovered, was a pretty bad connection. So this is actually providing a new downspout boot and a pipe that'll help drain that downspout. And then the last one is in the wave, we've been calling it the Wave Run Avenue addition, the big room and the big flex room in the Wave Run Avenue addition. Decided to go ahead and put a digital display like the classrooms in there, and we didn't. And what we've been doing is adding just a drywall chase that you can install that TV on. So as the technology changes over the years, you're not putting wire mold on the wall over the place to get a new connection to it. So they can actually go down into that chase, into the drywall, instead of going into, it's hard to fish into a block, and so to avoid, as technology changes, avoid a lot of different connections, we've been adding these little chases to allow, more flexibility for that, that kind of
Easy access?
Yeah, ease of access, because it's much easier to cut into drywall and patch it back than, because you can't really, if they start cutting in the block, it's gonna, over time, it just gets to be a mess.
Dust all over the place.
Yeah. So this was we added a little chase for that television, it's a digital display in that large room. So those are all the items, and then also have some progress photos in here as well, in the report that I submitted.
Yeah, it looks nice to see an actual driveway.
Yeah, that's standing at the main entrance, looking back at the preschool.
Yeah.
And then the can wash area I was talking about, you see the guys on the scaffold doing the brickwork. That's the area that infilled in the kitchen. And then on the second page, the bottom left photo, that's the new kitchen. That's the new hood for the new kitchen. That I just showed a picture of tile going down, new wood doors, things like that. So, any questions?
It's amazing. How's your feeling about us getting in there on time?
I mean, as the finishes start to go in, it starts to move a lot faster. I still think there's going to be some exterior things that need to be done, but they've assured us, and they haven't told us any different since they met with Dr. McDonald, that they'll be ready to move in, but there may be some exterior stuff to do.
Can live with the exterior, we just want to make sure we get them in the building and get the year started off, and with that comfort zone, knowing that's where they need to be.
I have not heard anything different of what they reported to us at that point and since.
Okay, well, that's great. Do y'all have any more discussion or questions? Yeah, we need a motion, please.
I make a motion or a motion to approve the change order number 9 that proposes the change to the Gorilla Design and Construction contract that results in an increase in the amount of $6,708 to the Mary G. Hogsett Primary Addition and Renovation Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing there is none. All those in favor, say aye. And all those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we have have you all been able to take a look at the contracts that have been presented as far as the sheriff's office? And Vince, we're good on all this?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Do y'all have any more questions or concerns? I'm just so glad. That was another thing that Dr. McDonald had to take care of immediately, what was the SRO situation. So talking about going in with the guns blazing, it all happened well. So seeing there's not any more discussion, I need a motion, please.
I make a motion for the approval of the memorandum of understanding with both the Danville Police Department and the Boyle County Sheriff's Department for the placement of SROs in our schools as submitted.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second, and there's not any more discussion, so all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing there are none, the motion carries. So let's move on to item number 8, which is the change in the athletic gate price. Do we have any discussion on this?
I have one question. It was brought up to me about initiating a reduced fee for senior citizens and also for elementary and middle school students. Is that possible?
It is. Typically speaking, we always have different gate workers at each event. And I don't know if you're aware or not, but all of our high school students get in free.
Okay,
And we do sell a senior pass, a family pass, and an individual pass
okay.
that is available too. We can definitely take a look at, what else we could do for seniors.
Okay.
But if you did $40 and seniors got into all regular season events,
Mhm.
I think the next step would be, possibly going free. But just something we need to look at,
Okay.
that we could talk about.
Well, would the pass be for the entire school year or?
It is, it's for all sports,
Oh,
and
okay,
it's regular season games,
okay.
which just means that it wouldn't apply to our Bob Allen Pigskin Classic games or
Mhm.
any district or region tournaments that we might
Understand.
host in the year.
Understand.
And most of the time what comes into play there is that you're splitting a gate with other schools, or the KHSAA themselves actually get that money
Right.
after we get so far in football playoffs. All those are split up differently.
Understand, but just
yeah.
regular games, regular schedule games, okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
I think we just need to advertise those more, I didn't know.
Of that. I would agree, there wasn't as many sold this past year, so,
Yeah.
that is one thing,
Well, because it wasn't advertised,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, we need to advertise that more.
Yeah, we can let Tiffany help pick that up.
Yeah,
Advertisement,
I think
with
that's
the
a
central
great-
office, I don't know that we helped with that, but we can
Yeah,
help with that
that could be
advertisement this year.
posted on the new website.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
And Glenn, I know there's other districts that offer a senior discount. I really would like to see us run with this for at least one athletic year. See how this increase makes a difference, which we know it's going to. Just the price of referees and officials and all that has gone up a lot. And
It has, it's increased. One thing too I want you to know is this wasn't just Lisa Fisher sitting around thinking, oh, okay, we haven't done this. We have a 12th Region ADs Association, and this has been a topic of conversation on several agendas in the last school year.
Mhm.
And we just thought we know this is a district level decision, and as a group, there's just a need for all athletic departments in our region to cover more expenses. With the cost of increase in officials, the cost has increased with assigning fees, things that we don't control. Apparel the cost has increased with uniforms and things like that. And you guys contributing what you do each year is a great help, but there's still, the income from gate and admissions is what I use to help assist those costs.
Were you able to go back and see how long it really had been? Because I know it's been.
I've been here 20 years and it's never changed.
Oh,
I
boy.
knew it was a long time. And I think there's also that mental, 5s are easier, if you get into 6, you have
And
1s
that-
and things like that.
That's gonna be a
You
big
consider
deal.
that's gonna be a big deal
On
on
the
the
change.
singles and for gate people counting, and, we'll see how that goes.
Right.
Are we gonna get caught up and change back? I don't know how that will work. But it'll be a lot different to have the correct change in a gate box every time, 5s and 1s.
Would we ever, I mean, this is pushing the gate, but I mean, now that most people are going electronic, would we ever do the square at the gate or something like that where someone could,
The cube?
like where you can swipe and go? I mean,
You can, but there's cost associated
I know,
with
there's a
it if
fee
you don't
with
have
that.
so many swipes or per swipe, you know,
Just
kind
to
of
know if
depending.
with being a nonprofit with the school or something like that, whether there's a program out there. But
Well,
I
they
just,
get-
I mean, I just think, the world today, everybody's paying with their phones and things like that, not necessarily carrying cash, but.
And through the fall and winter sports, after that in March, we had an athletic directors meeting, and I took a look at what our ticket sales were. And we had sold 9,600 plus tickets. So if you look at that, that's an increase in income of about $9,600, you know. Just something to think about there.
I think after 20 years, I think it's worth as a bump up. Because again, people expect, everything to stay the same, but when everything else is going up, there has to be a way to pay for those things. And so I think a modest $1 increase, after 20 years.
And we definitely will still offer what we've always, or not what we've always, but in the last 6 years, we've let our kids in free.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a good thing. We see an increase in kids because they don't have to pay.
Right.
Can I make a motion?
It's sad to say, but you almost have to have a hazard to pay for the officials. That's sad. I mean, their life's in peril too sometimes.
Is there any more discussion? We need a motion, please.
Yes, I move that we change the gate price for all athletic games from $5 to $6.
Second that. And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you all. Okay, Teresa, I may ask you to intervene on this one too. Policy update number 42. I know this is our second reading. Have y'all had a chance to go over all this again? Okay, and do y'all have any, do you want to give us a highlight?
I can.
Okay.
This is just kind of quick. In section 1, we've got to put "In God We Trust," the national motto, into our schools. We need to talk about how we're going to do that. There's a change in board vacancies, which Mr. Becker and I were talking about that, I think, or were we talking about? One of us. We're talking about how now it's going to be up to you guys if there's a vacancy. We're putting the power back in the local boards to fill the vacancy. Your per diem is changing. That's in section 1 also. You're going from $75 a meeting to $150 a meeting.
Can I clarify real quick on
Yes.
that? The agreement was in 2005 with the state. As our per diem went up, they also were going to start letting boards add a cost of living every year to that. Well, that part of it never got passed. So we've been, as board members, have been collecting the 75 per diem for about 19 years now. Now, there are options to this. There are several boards throughout the state that don't even take a per diem, none of the board members. There are those that, if the board member themselves decide that they only want to take half the per diem, they can do that. So there are a lot of options, and it's up to the individual. But the legislature did see that this was a needed thing for board members. I know I probably spend 20 to 25 hours a week on school board business. Now, should that matter? Well, in some ways it does matter, because as all of us, we're taking a lot of personal time. So I actually did push for this. I welcome this, that it's happened, but it still gives board members lots of options. There are a couple of boards that are giving all their per diem to the School Board Association Scholarship Fund. So, or they're taking 2 months out of their 12 months per diem and doing those kind of things. So I just wanted to let the board folks know that you have a decision in this on what you want to do. So, and that's something we can discuss at a later point. So, thank you.
In section 2, there's the requirements for the SROs being trained. A lot of these are the Senate Bill 1 changes. Section 3, there's a lot of changes on prohibiting vapor, any nicotine products, tobacco products. Not only do they prohibit it, we've got to have signage on our vehicles, our buses, notice sent out to the parents. There's a lot involved with that. Also in section 3, the personnel section, by November 1st, all employees must have a 1-hour training for active shooter. So we'll be implementing that. Section 5, the superintendent has to appoint a school safety coordinator. There's some rules with that, go along with that. Section 8, there's changes in the graduation requirements. You want to make sure you read through that really well. Section 9, the employees working with grades 6 through 12, I think they already had to have suicide prevention training. Now they have to have recognition of signs and symptoms of mental illness also added to that. And then also in that section, the principal must send notice within the first 10 days about the potential penalties for using tobacco products, I think is what it was. And then the last one in there was the threat assessment team. We have to get together and get that team. So, any other questions?
Does anybody have any questions on that?
No.
We have a lot of this already in place.
We do,
Yes.
especially the ones on Senate Bill 1. We were already doing most of those. We already had Ed McKinney serving in that capacity, so we're ahead of the game with most of those.
And of course, we had the first reading last week.
Yes, and so,
This one you will approve.
right,
The procedures are after that, and that's just a notification.
that's just
You don't have to-
notification. You know, and to let you all know, the School Board Association has put a call out to all school districts, asking them, especially on the safety requirements of some schools, districts like ours, we are way ahead of the curve as far as, you know, our vestibules situation and that kind of thing. But there are other districts that haven't even started. So if you get a request from KSBA, they're just asking for information so that it can be presented at the session in January with the legislature to let them know what kind of costs are probably going to be incurred for a lot of districts that just don't have the finances to do it. So it's not that they're trying to ask for stuff to give you something else to do, but it really is going to get, it's part of the deal, part of what we're going to be presenting in January. So does anybody have any more comments or questions? Okay, we need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that approval of the annual policy update number 42 is submitted.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say
Aye.
aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, and as Teresa said, the next notification of procedures, that's just a need to know, I mean, you know, things we just need, but we don't have to approve that. So, item 11, we have reports, and so Dr. McDonald's going to be talking a lot. So, Dr. McDonald, if you'll get us through A as far as the positions and so forth.
Okay, and we discussed these last week at the work session, so you see 2 new positions. Well, technically 1 new position, the school wellness counselor, which we've talked about extensively, so glad to answer any new questions. The Admiral Academy position, the director there, and it was just going from 4 hours to 5 hours. It's paid for with Admiral Academy fees and already exists. It's just adding that hour. Then you'll also see added on here Title I teachers. This is every year. It's because our title funding comes in a little bit later, and so you'll see, you know, as we add those title positions and we get that in. So these are returning individuals. These are already there. This is not anything new for the title positions. So.
Is everybody okay with all that? Any further discussion?
No.
I make
Go
a
ahead,
motion for
Lauren.
the approval of the new job description, or new positions, or approval of the June 17th, 2009 staffing report is submitted.
Okay,
Second.
so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, now we're gonna start talking about job descriptions.
So we have two there. Again, we looked at these last week as well. One is for the assistant manager for food services. Again, that was Tolliver. The new position to that was added in the previous board meeting, and so this is just the job description to follow. And then also the matching job description for that school wellness counselor.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, I'd like a motion, please.
I'll make a motion of approval of the new job descriptions that's submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, item 11C, which is the salary schedules. Sure. Well, just you start and then we'll.
Okay. So you see the proposed salary schedule there. So the salary schedule that's attached is as is. So the salary schedule just rolling with our step raises from last year. So it's the same one. Also, something that the board may want to consider as you're looking at the salary schedule is if you want to consider any type of a raise for all employees. Now would be the time to discuss that as you're looking at that salary schedule. And then last week I proposed a little bit larger bump for three of our directors at the central office. And so one of the things that, as I went back, after we had some discussion about that, is to really look at the directors in our central office compared to directors in our surrounding counties. And so, Teresa, can you pull up that attachment? So I just want to, just for your information, give you the comparison with the three positions that I had asked for that bump in that index and what that looks like across other districts. And so there are multiple districts here. One of the things that as we went this week and looked at this is that we actually are, our directors in our central office are well below the directors in other central office. So as you see, we've got across the top chart, Bull County, Jessamine, Marion, Washington, and Nelson. And so where you see a percentage, that's the way we actually do those salaries. It's their salary or on the teacher scale plus an index. And so we were proposing for our assistant superintendent to the 25% index. We're currently at 18% there. And then if you see Bull County, they're 25%. Marion County is, and I don't have it pulled up here, I think that's 26, is it?
20% for Bull County.
Yeah, and then Washington there you see is well above. Now, just to point out, Jessamine County and Nelson County, what that means is their salary times 1.5. So if they're a teacher on this many days, you multiply that salary times 1.5, and then they have two assistants or two administrative assistants, which is secretaries under them as well with that salary. And so Nelson is their salary plus 1.2. So those actually are much larger salaries, especially in Jessamine County. And then Director of Pupil Services, the DPP, we're at 13%, and you can see across there, 26, 24. And then Director of Special Education, we're at 13%. Bull is 15. Marion, again, there is in the 20s in Washington. And then the chart below is just repeating that. I just wanted to be able to fit it all on one screen. So again, same thing for Danville, and you see Franklin County, well above 20 and 30%. Mercer, Shelby, Lincoln, and Woodford County. So we're the lowest. All of them are pretty much 20% above, with the exception of us. As you also notice, DPP, Assistant Superintendent, Director of Special Education, they're not on the same index. So we were one of the few districts that had all of the directors on the same index as well. So that's just to give you an idea. So our teachers and our other employees for most of those positions are above these districts. And I think that we should be. We should continue to make sure that we keep our teachers' pay above the surrounding districts. We should continue to make sure that our salaries are competitive so that we can attract teachers, so that we can retain our strong, great teachers that we already have, and we should keep us there. But with that same mindset, we also should have our directors at least at the same level or close to those surrounding counties, and currently we're well below. So in stating that, I'm not asking the board to make any type of motion this evening, but I'm asking to consider where we should be, and also the other directors, not just these three, because once I left that meeting and really started digging to see that not only, what I proposed and thinking that we needed a bump for the directors, looking at this now, it's looking like we need to rethink the directors in our central office and what they do based on what happens in the surrounding districts. So I'm going to leave it at that, and if the board would like more research or would like to table temporarily so that we can pull some more numbers based on what these surrounding districts look like, we're happy to pull more information.
So, and that information would strictly be on the central office directors?
Yes.
So that we could gather more information. I feel very strongly that we need to ask, I'm asking the board to give all of our employees that 1% raise. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but we've given raises 7 out of the last 6 years. So when you start adding all that up over the years, along with the bump, which is not tremendous, but it's probably a 2/10 in that range additional. But one thing I have always strongly felt is that we need to take care of our employees if we can take care of our employees, and I think this is a time that we can. Our central office folks, it's time we look at that. These indexes, as far as I know, have been the same for years. And we potentially could be missing out on folks coming, or we potentially could lose folks that we have already. And I don't want that to happen. So in lieu of worrying about central office at this point, I would like to see if somebody would make the motion that we can increase all staff salaries by 1% for the next school year. Any discussion?
Teresa and Tammy, are you comfortable? I mean, I know we've had some big purchases this year and everything, and but do we feel comfortable? I think we're in a good position. You said we still have a very comfortable contingency budget going through. Do you feel comfortable with that?
So we're at about 7% in our reserve, and 4 to 6 is considered stable. So we're still above the stable point. Always thinking that when we give a salary raise that's reoccurring. 1% would be around $157,000 currently. So could we handle that at this point? Yes. We would want to, as we move throughout the year, as we make other decisions, we would have to remember that this is something that we opted to do, and definitely always in support of making sure that we keep our salaries competitive for our teachers, and also reward for a really job well done. But we're going to need to keep that in mind throughout the year as we make other decisions as well.
That's one of the things that, I love, approving things, and I think our teachers and staff, everybody, is deserving of this 1%. But always, when it comes tax time and we have these same discussions, it seems like everybody gets real quiet about things, but with the state cutting everything every year, and with, property taxes, everything, you can't just do it all. And I feel comfortable this year, but I'm just saying, we just don't print the money. We have to figure out ways to do things. So I just want to remember this as we move towards tax time, that, we are doing things, but just like we're having to raise some things across the way, we've got to be mindful of that as we move forward. So
agreed, and like Steve had mentioned, Mr. Baker mentioned, in the last 6 years, we've given 7%. Right. So, now this will be in the last 7 years, we've done 8%. And so, realistically, we're an independent school district, we're landlocked, we don't have, really, and so we will need to think about these things as we move into tax time. And, it's not that we would be able to do a 1% every year over a very long period of time. There would have to be some years we would take a break, but currently, at a 7% reserve, I think we're okay.
And I asked this question last year, but I always found this astonishing, like that, you're seeing these states like West Virginia and everybody, the teachers are rallying for higher pay, which they definitely need and should get, but if the state comes in and says we apparently need to give all our teachers 5%, hopefully they'll give us money to do that, because even though Danville's been a good district and gives 1% every year, we would still have to give 5% more, even though our neighboring just another district in the state might not been nice, that generous to the teachers, we would still have to above that. I thought that was astonishing, even though like we're doing a good job along the way, we would still have to figure out that 5%, hopefully that would. But I just thought that was interesting. But no, I feel comfortable with it. Really impressed with how we've been able to, as a board, manage to do the softball project, the building and everything, and still be able to give this, and I think it's a good idea.
And I do think the facilities conversations we've had the last couple of months, to where we are reworking our bonding structure, to where we're moving the phase 3 roofing of the high school, we're moving, or the phase 3, we're moving it from general fund to bonding. That helps us and allows us to do that. If we weren't able to have done a little bit of rework with our facilities, then we may not have been comfortable. But since we've been able to do that work, I think that we're okay.
I agree on the 1%. I also still want to take a look at not the personnel part of it, just the position and the salary for the assistant superintendent, director of pupil personnel, and the special education director. I think those three need to be analyzed, and this data that the superintendent has provided will really help us on that too.
Well, and I agree with that. I think that we probably need to look at all the directors so that we can get their indexes where they all need to be. I'm going to propose that we have a special call meeting on Thursday. That gives time for staff to get all these numbers together, and then if everybody's agreeable, we can meet at 8 o'clock Thursday morning. That would be tremendous. So anyways, that will help. So do we have a motion?
I make a motion for the approval of the 2019-2020 salary schedules as submitted, plus an additional 1% raise.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? Motion second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Steve, is the meeting Thursday going to be here or over at the board office?
I think we'll do that to be determined. How about that? And then we'll let you all know as soon as possible.
All right.
Okay. And I don't know if Dr. McDonald may have a couple other items to put on that special call meeting. So since we're meeting, we might as well take advantage of the time.
That'd be fine.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's go over the finance reports. Have you all had a chance to look at those?
So it's pretty cut and dry this month. Looks exactly like it has the past months. So you can see there on your first page of your report, we have the information from Munis in parts 1 and 2. As you notice, our balance $6,516,149.68 as our balance there. The Munis balance sheet matches with our bank reconciliation. As you notice in part 3 there, that top number there comes from the last page or the first page of our bank statement. And then once we reconcile that bank statement, you'll see at that ending bank balance down there as of May 31st, that aligns with our Munis balance. So we balance to the penny. Again, and if there's any questions, be glad to take those. Again, your second page should be your expenditures. I'm just looking on Steve to make sure my pages are in the same order. And then our revenue will be pages 3 and 4. It's our revenue that we took in May. And then again, we've given you a copy of that front page of the bank statement at the back so that you can see where those numbers line up. Any questions on those?
Just because it's the largest number on the page, the 541,000 CD transfer. So that was just something.
That's that's what we're paying on. I believe that means what we're paying on Hogsett.
Okay.
So and I'll double check and make
It's
sure
just,
if it's different.
I mean, it's income, so,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, no,
you know what I'm
oh,
saying, it's revenue.
oh, you're on the revenue page.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go make sure on the expenditure page. Yeah, I'll go back and look to see which
It's
one,
okay.
which one they did, 'cause that's, yeah. And it's probably a combination of several.
Of things, yeah.
So, like, a lot of them we combine, so I had to pull it. to
Okay,
see exactly
that's fine.
which
It's
one.
just,
So,
everything's good. So, any other questions or discussions, anything you want to bring up?
yeah,
more?
so if you back on that same one, if you'll notice where it's got like, it has check number and it's got numbers that run, anytime you see that dash in there, that is a lump of, expenditures together, that's on page 2 for expenditures. So it's like a whole lump together there, so. And then revenues broke out individually, so.
Any more discussion? Any concerns? Do we have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve of the May financial report is submitted.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, Dr. McDonald, the finance report on payments
The
of invoices.
Invoices, so, a thick packet with invoices, and so I try to usually just pull out some of the highlights, for board members. Sometimes it's difficult to do, because you're like, oh, that's, interesting, and of course, it might be $30. So I try to pull out some of the larger dollar amounts, so I'll just go through, some of the page numbers and point some out. Page 4, and you already know this amount, but I just thought it's interesting to point out, that's payment for our SROs, on the 2 that we have currently, so where we pay the sheriff's department back for their salaries. That's kind of in the middle of page 4 there, that's $7,000. And then one of the things that you'll see over the next couple of months is we belong to cooperatives. We've got Central Kentucky Education Cooperative, so CKEC. There's 2 main ones and then a couple of smaller ones. And so we get a lot of benefit from those cooperatives. So we have a lot of training that's provided for free. We have monthly meetings with the directors. I have monthly meetings with superintendents. We gain a lot of valuable information there. We also, as you know, some of the purchases that you've seen Christy put forward, to where there is a group where we don't have to go through the bid process, because there's a list of vendors that have already bid with that cooperative, and we save money that way because we're in that group with other districts. So just wanted to point out, this is the time of the year to where we're paying those fees to be members of those cooperatives. And on page 5, there's one for CKEC, which is $4,513. And so you'll see some of those through there, and it's just that it's the time of the year for that, and we do get a lot of benefit, and we save considerably from those vendors that are on those approved bid lists. On page 7, we have one there for Mary Hogsett, which was $21,000. Throughout, you will see Mary Hogsett project, lots of different ones from large to small. A lot of rewards were going on and end of the year trips for all of our schools on this same page on page 7. Midway down, you'll see bowling and bait. So you'll see some odd ones through there that are rewards for some of our schools. On page 10, there was one that I thought you might have been like, what is that? So on page 10, if you'll go down towards the bottom, and it says repairs. It's got Denny, of course, for Christy, repairs, and then it says on lift. So we do have a lift that we do some of the outside work, some work in the gym, whether it's painting or changing lights or repair work up high. And our lift was still functioning but had some minor repairs, and then we needed to actually get it up to some of the new OSHA standards. So that's what that $1,343 was for that lift that we use. On page 11, there's one that says frontline education. It's about 3/4 of the way down for $10,132, and that's going to be something new that we have this upcoming school year, and that's going to be automatic call-out for substitute teacher. So it really will streamline that process of getting subs in our school. And if you have any detailed questions, I'd be glad to answer them, but Teresa Osborne has been working on that project and also can answer questions. So that'll be something new that we have this year, which will be really good. Page 12, we have summer feeding, and there's a ton of food services on page 12, so you'll continue to see food services throughout the summer. Page 14, a full page of custodial services. Page 15, at the bottom, you'll see that it says CASA Leadership Institute. Our principals and directors will be attending that conference for training. And then I'm going to jump over page 17. We've got the Bait HVAC. One of the first payments there is $70,000. So making sure we're updating there. If you're interested in our utility bill, about 3/4 of the way down on page 18, you'll see $34,514. And then the Education Foundation is at the very bottom of page 22. And then there's a lot of Mary Hogs over the next several pages. And then I think I had one more tagged. Oh, and it was just a lot more food services on page 29. So, looks like a long report, but there's a lot of little small ones for like custodial, food services, those sorts of things. Any questions, or did any pop out that, anybody?
Cost of doing business.
Cost of doing business.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, seeing there is none, I need a motion, please.
I make the motion for the approval of invoices totaling $1,087,497.95 as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay,
Is
we're
there a
gonna go.
motion to approve the financial statement, or is that just a presentation?
Oh, we made the motion. We did, yeah. Okay. Okay, item 11E, F is district insurance.
Yep, and you have a little summary chart attached, and we went over this at the workstation as well, but just as a reminder, we have several policies: our fleet, our bus fleet, general liability, we have an equipment floater, property, and then an umbrella. All of those are through Liberty Mutual, and they total $138,106. It's an increase of last year, $14,890. Then our workman's comp is $118,572. That is a decrease of $17,501 from last year. So one's an increase, one's a decrease, but we're saving $2,611 on our insurance. There are 8 total policies here. The 9th policy is our student accident, which comes due in September, so we'll discuss that in our August board meeting.
Any comments or questions? Okay, do we have a motion, please?
Make a motion for approval of vendors for district insurance for the 2019-20 school year. Liberty Mutual for GL, ELL property, and fleet insurance and KEMI for workers' compensation as submitted.
Okay, you need a
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is 12A through E, which is all on consent agenda. We went over all this last week, very detailed. We need a motion, please.
I make a motion that we approve all consent agenda items as presented with no discussion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Do we have anybody to speak? Okay, so that's done. So, number 14 is to adjourn. We need a motion, please.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Saying there is none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you all.
It's gotta be a little bit different. But for the affirmative.
Good to see you.
Always.
Absolutely. Oh,
Hey, Eric. Howdy. Hey, good to see you, man. Hey, man.
Been okay?
so that's